Welcome to the Putnam County Library Lunch and Learn. Today we are joined by Beth Ruck, who will be talking about spring cleaning and decluttering with Conquering Clutter. Take it away, Beth.
Hi, good afternoon. Glad to be here with you today. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Beth Ruck with Conquering Clutter. I've been in business since 2015. I started my business in the northern Michigan and moved to the Cookeville area in September of 2022. I do mostly in-person organizing with people, but have done some virtual over the computer. I'm a member of Faithful Organizers. It's a group of Christian organizers across the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. And I'm also part of BNI, which is a local and international networking group. So if you need some help with something, I probably know a person that can help you out. So my mission is helping people manage their possessions so they have more time to do what they love with the people that they love. And here's a quiz, and Robin, you may have seen this quiz before, I don't remember, but it's kind of an eye-opening experience. There are blank items in the average American home. A, 25,000, B, 100,000, C, 300,000, or D, 412,300. Any ideas what you think it might be?
Well, is D too specific?
Yeah, I'll tell you which one it is. It's C. So it's an average, you know, it's not the exact, and I don't think they're counting individual paper clips either. All right, this one. In 1930, the average American woman owned 9 outfits. Today, the average is A, 19, B, 15, C, 27, or D, 30.
30 plus.
Well, D is the answer, 30. So, alrighty. Over the course of our lifetime, how many hours will we spend searching for misplaced items? A, 1,500, B, 4,300, C, 3,680, or D, 2,756?
I feel like I do C, and I never find it.
Yep, C is actually the correct answer. 3,680 hours spent looking for misplaced items. And this one is crazy. How much do Americans spend annually on non-essential goods, things they really don't need? A, 99 million, B, 1.2 trillion, C, 8 billion, or D, 3 billion?
Okay, this is the United States as a whole, right?
Yes, yep. So the answer is 1.2 trillion.
That's what I was
Which
thinking.
is crazy.
I didn't even read that number.
That's a big number, 1.2 trillion. Alrighty, so when you think about spring cleaning, it could mean one of these things: moving your furniture around and dusting underneath it, washing your windows, washing walls, cleaning out closets, or tidying up your garage or storage space. So any other ideas, like when you think spring cleaning, what does that mean to you?
All of those.
All of those, okay.
Plus,
Reorganizing, okay.
Trying to put it in a logical way that I'll forget tomorrow.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna just talk about spring cleaning and decluttering. So there's a lot of reasons why people hold on to their possessions. They might look at it and go, well, this is really, you know, some good stuff. I just can't get rid of it away. You know, somebody might use it. Or they might say, well, I might use it someday. Before we started recording, I gave each person here a small bag of miscellaneous things, and they were sorting out what they might want and what they didn't. Most of them, I think, only kept a few things. But these are things I found in my own home that I'm like, why do I have these? So after today's presentation, most of them are going in the garbage. A lot of people just don't know where to start. They're paralyzed by indecision. don't know where to start. They might be memories, and they're not sure what to do with them, and they're want to honor memories. They maybe have inherited items from family members, and they feel like, oh, I need to keep it, and it might be out of sense of guilt that they keep things. Okay, so clutter is postponed decisions. This is a well-known quote from Barbara Hemphill. She's an organizing pioneer. She started back in the mid-1970s with professional organizing. And so I always tell people, our clutter is postponed decisions. How many times have we looked at something and then we're like, oh, I don't know what to do with it. So we stick it in the closet, stick it in a drawer, and then we're like, oh, this is such a mess. I probably would be good to go through it. So when we're gonna do spring cleaning and decluttering, these are a few steps I would suggest we start with. First, make a plan. You don't have to get it all done in a month. You don't have to get it all done in 3 months. You can spread it out over the year, but make a plan about what's most important for you to get done. And then the next really important step is putting it into action. So you're gonna schedule when you're gonna do your plan. So you might say, well, I really need to clean out my refrigerator and defrost it and wash everything out and pull it away and clean underneath it. I plan on doing it this week, you know, the week of March 1st through the 7th. You know, that's my plan to get that done. And when I was talking to my husband about this, he was telling me, this is why I put, don't play the moving stuff around game. So when he was growing up, at least once a month, his dad would have them either in the garage or in the basement clean. But it was moving, as my husband said, crap from one end of the garage to the other. They would sweep it out, but heaven forbid that they would get rid of anything, because that was good stuff. But that was a ritual. And his dad was known for having jars of old bolts and nuts and screws and even a can of bent rusty nails. He didn't get rid of anything, but it was just moving things around from one part of the garage to another, and not the most favorite thing that my husband enjoyed doing when he'd rather be, you know, playing with his friends or something. And then it's important to remove clutter as you clean. So if you're cleaning out, let's say your refrigerator, you might find some things that are kind of old or you're never going to use them. So it's important to, you know, get rid of things. Here I wanted to share this really old picture of myself and my sister. So on either side of the fireplace, my dad had built these really tall bookshelves that were full of books. And every summer, my older brothers had to do it, and then when my sister and I got a little older, it was our job, and we would help our mom to clean it all off. So we had to take everything, book off of the shelves, one shelf at a time, and they were really tall bookshelves. Take it all off, vacuum the books off. Then my mom would clean the shelves, and then we had to put the books back on, and she would measure how far it was from the edge. She was very precise. And we lived in Minnesota, and we did not have air conditioning growing up, and so sometimes we were doing it when it was a very hot and humid day. But that was our job, and she rarely got rid of any books. So that was our job. So that's why I showed this picture, to kind of let you see what those bookcases look like. And when my mom eventually was moved out of her house, it was about 2 years before she died, and we went, not only did she have these bookshelves, she had 2 or 3 built-in bookshelves in the basement, and she had built-in bookshelves in one of the bedrooms, and they were full of books. And some of them were like old magazines that she'd put in binders, some were American heritage books, that she had, and she couldn't believe that no one would pay her money for them. And like, with the internet, people don't go and look at these things anymore. And even as kids, we rarely went and looked in these books for information, but you gotta keep these. Plus, we have the set of encyclopedias. So just remember to clean things up. So this is a well-known acronym that I use, created by Julie Morgenstern, and it's the SPACE acronym. So first is sorting things out. So you sort like with like. So if you happen to be cleaning your clothes out, you get all your pants together, all your shirts together, your sweaters, your shorts, whatever, socks. And then after that, you look at each section that you've sorted out and you discard what you don't need. Clothes that no longer fit you, clothes that are out of style, clothes that have holes in them and you're just not gonna wear them. Then it's assign. So one of you talked about, finding spots for things that are logical. So you would decide, well, I don't need to hang up all of my clothes. I'll put some of them in the dresser. Or it could be, in your kitchen and you're working, you might assign things that you don't use as often to a shelf that's in your if you happen to have a pantry, they're not used as often, or lighter things you might be putting on the top shelf of your cabinets. Then number 4 is called containing your items. And a lot of times people want to go shopping first and think, if I just had the right container, everything would look lovely. But really you're just organizing clutter instead of dealing with the clutter. So you can go shopping later after you've kind of looked through everything and gotten rid of a few things. And then it's important to equalize or maintain your system. And it's, decluttering is not a once and done thing, and we know that we're in different parts of our lives, so what we kept last year we might not need this year. If we're hanging on to things from when our kids were little, we really probably don't need those anymore, so we can get those moved
I
on.
gave those to the kids.
Yep.
Let them deal with it.
Well, and I've also heard too, people will be like, oh, I have my kids' stuff from college, but they won't come and get it. And I'm like, maybe they really don't want it, but they're just afraid to tell you that. And I'm like, if you really don't want it at their house, give them a deadline and say, I do not want to store your stuff anymore. So you have until this date to get it out of the house. And either I'm throwing it away or I'm gonna donate it somewhere, depending on what it is. So, and just keep reminding you again, like, hey, it's 1 week until I'm getting rid of the stuff. So if you really want it, come and get it, because otherwise it's leaving my house. I do not need it anymore. All right, so some more questions to ask when you are doing the purging part is, do I love this item? Do I use this item? Or do I need this item? So some things nowadays, if we have a computer, we can store a lot of things that used to be in paper can be stored on our computer. It's just important to remember to back up our computer so we don't lose everything. But we want to enjoy what we have. And like I said before, we have to adjust for what we own for our current season of life. So when I moved here a couple years ago, we moved to a smaller house with less storage, so I knew I had to get rid of things. And our son had a house, and I was like, if you want this stuff, you need to come and get it, because I don't have room for it to store it when I move. So he did, he came and got a lot of stuff, but then both my kids went through things and they're like, I really don't want that. And I'm like, great, we'll donate it somewhere and someone else can enjoy it. So I'm gonna just show you a couple of pictures of different clients I've worked with. This client, obviously this was her kitchen and she had all these things hanging up. And I'm like, do you use everything that's hanging up there? Plus there were like Christmas ornaments hanging up there and just some odds and ends. So I went through everything that was hanging up there and she decided what she wanted left up there, and most of the stuff she didn't want left up there, she said, let's donate it, I don't use it. So you can tell it looks a little more tidy in the after picture, and it's things that she would really use. This picture, I helped this client in many rooms of her house, but this is just one example of a cabinet underneath her sink that we went through. The shelves are kind of sagging, and she had a bunch of stuff down there that she didn't need, so we just pulled everything out. I cleaned it out, I wiped it clean, put the shelving unit back together so it wasn't sagging, and we decided what was best to go in there. So, because you can see in the before picture, there's some like shampoo and stuff. And she's like, I don't know why this shampoo is even in here, so that got relocated. Some things we threw away, but she was very happy with all the rooms that we worked on and decluttering and kind of cleaning as we go along. So when I work with people, I did not do like a deep clean, but I will help, we'll wipe out cabinets or things because I don't want to return something to something that's dusty. All right, this is another client I worked with. She had a shed and a 2-car garage and had just tons of stuff in there. And this was when I lived in Michigan. They were doing a hazardous waste disposal day, and I knew she was not gonna take it over there. I arranged with her county to have someone come pick it up for her. They weren't gonna do this for everybody, but I knew this person, so she's like, yeah, we'll come and pick it up. And so we found there's an old tire in there. All those things that are in kitty litter things are not actually kitty litter, but they are like different kinds of fertilizer and things that she was never going to use in her yard, and you didn't want to just throw it in the garbage. We just found tons of stuff. And also in her house she had a TV that didn't work, so she had to pay to have them take the TV, like $10 or something. It was a really old TV. But about a year later she ended up having to move out of this house. And because I had helped her in her whole house, we got rid of so many things. We got this out of the house safely. We got donated tons of clothes and knickknacks and vases and kitchen items to the local Habitat for Humanity. There were some other local places that she wanted them to go to. And her family was so relieved that we had worked together, because when she had to move, she moved from a house, like a double wide house, to a single wide mobile home, which was very nice, but she would never have had room for all of these things. We even went through some paperwork, which I like to help people do too. For your information, if you don't know, if you run across any hazardous waste that you want to recycle in Putnam County, it's at 2101 West Jackson. They are open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. And a lot of people ask me about paint, and they will take oil-based paint or oil-based stain, but they will not take latex paint. And if you have old latex paint around and it's kind of not usable, you can throw it in the trash, but it needs to be dried up. So you can take the lid off. You can either put sand, dirt, or inexpensive kitty litter to dry it up. And then when it's all dried up and more solid, you can put it into your trash and it can go leave your house. So that's with that. Here's another lady. one area we worked in her kitchen, and you can see in this little caddy in the corner she had, I don't know how many drinking vessels that were crazy, and she even had more in a cabinet. So we went through it all, and she must have gotten rid of like 20 to 30 of them. I mean, that's how many she had. And then we decided to use that caddy for some vitamins and some other things that she had on an island that were, she wanted to really use the island to do food prep, but as it was, she couldn't because there's all this stuff over there. So we donated all these beverage containers, moved things around until she, was happy with what was left. And so are there any questions, specific questions that you might have about your possessions at all, or where to take things? So.
Well, like I said earlier, the clothes that I'm gonna get rid of, I've got somebody to give them to.
Yeah, that's good.
I have 2 propane heaters up in the overhang on my truck. I won't use them,
Okay.
so I don't know where to get rid of them.
Habitat for Humanity Restore might take them. It's on Jefferson, so you can always call them and ask them before you drag it over there.
Yeah.
But, yep. So on my website, which is conqueringclutter.net, I've got a resources tab near the top, and I've got ideas about like where you can drop things off, and I am gonna update it in the next couple of weeks to a few more local things for like Putnam County that I know about. So when we think about our possessions, think about these things. What would your life look like if you had less things? Like, how would that make you feel if you had less things? When do your possessions become a burden? It could be because you feel guilty about something and you're hanging on to it because you inherited it and you're like, oh, somebody gave me this, I can't get rid of it, this was a gift. But sometimes you might have things that have bad memories with them, so let's say you went through a divorce, but you've got some things left over from that marriage, and you maybe think, oh, well, maybe my kids would want it if there were kids involved, but they probably don't. So I think by getting rid of things that bring negative feelings and thoughts into our lives are a good thing to have leave our house, leave our home, and can be a blessing to somebody else that doesn't have that bad attachment to it. And then why do we buy things we don't need? Like, why are we buying certain things? If you're interested, you can send me an email, which is on my business card I gave you, and I can send you my questions to ask before you buy, which people will find helpful because some of the questions are, will I go into debt if I buy this? Or do I have a place to keep it? What happens if I didn't buy this thing? Like maybe you're at the store and you're like, oh, kind of an impulse buy, and you're like, oh, what if I need, oh, that's really cute, and there's some impulse buys we can return if we do it in a small space of time, but a lot of impulse buying we cannot return, and it either ends up in the trash or we hanging on to it because we spent good money on it, but it's just gathering dust and not doing any good. So if you're interested in that form, I'd be happy to email it to you. So why do we declutter? It's a gift to ourselves because we know that things sometimes just need to leave our home. We can't hold on to everything. It's a gift to our family because then they are not thinking, you know, let's say we pass away and there's this house full of stuff and we're like, why didn't mom and dad take care of this? Like, I'm so angry with them that I have to go through it. Luckily when my mom moved out of her house, my siblings and I had gone through the house and asked her, you know, well, we would like this, we would like that, and she was like, great. My husband and I drove over and had rented a trailer and loaded the larger things into it. And then when she moved from her house to an apartment, she was like, are we sure you don't want a few more things? And we're like, no, Mom, we have what we want. And unless this has a great personal family story with this great history, we're gonna bless somebody else with it. So, it was so much easier when she passed away to know that we had dealt with all of these things and didn't have to, you know, worry about it. So, we didn't hate our mom. Anyway, it's a gift to others because we can bless somebody else with the things that we don't love, use, or need anymore. And not only when people work with me, it's not always about the stuff. It's about giving them clarity. It's helping them define who they are now. It's like, this is who I am now, and things that I'm holding on to do not speak to me anymore about where I am now. And it helps them decide what matters most to them. You know, you're keeping the things that matter most to you. I'll tell people if they run across something and it has this interesting story, I'll get out a note card and I'll say, well, tell me the who, what, where, why. Like, why are you keeping this? And we're gonna put that note card with that item. And then when you're talking to your family about different things, you'll be like, did I ever tell you the story about this thing? Because then that might change their mind if they want it or not. They might go, oh, that's really a neat story. Like, I never knew that about that. And then we get to think about what gets to come next. Like, what's the next part of our life gonna look like? As I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, I don't need certain things. And I've been going through pictures and I've been going through cards, a few cards that I've kept. I'd mostly get rid of them, but I just went through all these pictures I'd gotten in Christmas cards, and mostly it was family. And I thought, oh, I need to keep these, and I had them really organized in an envelope and like who the family was and how they were related to me. And they were taking up a lot of space. And I'm like, I do not need all of these pictures. So I went through each folder and I picked out like 2 or 3 pictures that were meaningful to me. I scanned them and they're stored on my computer in an organized fashion. And probably my family will not care about them when I'm gone. They might care about a few of them, but they're like, I didn't know this person, so it doesn't, mean anything to me. So, anyway, but just remembering that decluttering is an ongoing process. So, if you're interested in some hands-on help from me to get started, because a lot of times when people work with me, they'll be like, I know I could do this myself. I worked with a lady last year and she goes, I know I can do this. The thing is, I won't do it. I need to hire you to come for 2 hours a couple times a month and just make me do it, because I would rather be outside doing something else, but I know I need to go through these things. So you can call me, or you can go to my website and click on Plan Your Project, and it sends me an email, and then I follow up with you to discuss on the phone for about 10 or 15 minutes, like what you're looking for, and then we decide if we want to work together. If you go to my website, I have tabs on the top. One is says tips, and that has different little blogs that tell about different things that I've done or tips that I can pass on to other people. There's also the resources thing. If you happen to be on Facebook, I have every Tuesday I post a Tuesday tip, and every Friday I post a Friday fun fact. And so if you're on Facebook, go to find my Conquering Clutter Facebook page and follow me if you'd like, and you'll see these fun things, and every once in a while I throw something else new in there. But that's pretty much all that I had for today. I'm so happy that you came to hear what I had to say, and I hope I have inspired you to do something and move forward. So any other questions before we wrap up? But if not, and you think of something in the middle of the night, and you're like, I wish I would ask Beth that, feel free to email me or call me, and I will be happy to answer your question as best I can. So thank you so much.
The next day, right?
Yep. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
Thank
Beth.
you.